Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications. We're syndicated on Abundance Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. We appreciate that. And also, we have a new podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the newscasters.com. Truth matters there, too. And if you get your feelings hurt real easy, don't listen to those talk show hosts because they tell it exactly like it is. Absolutely. So I'm just honored to be part of that. So thank you guys for Murray, thank you so much for letting me be part of that podcast. Definitely appreciate that. You can also find us on the radio, icradio.media. That's in christradio.media. I have with me a very special friend. His name is Phillip Gilliland. He is with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. You do a lot. You're very busy.
Yeah, this one's probably been one of the busiest years, and next year's shaping up to be pretty good. So, I mean, it's good things. Good things are happening. We're affiliating with new churches, and we have new churches starting from scratch, and it's always fun to go through that honeymoon phase with a new church because that level of enthusiasm is always just out the roof as they grow so fast, and it'll, it kind of, in all honesty, there'll come a time it'll kind of mellow out a little bit, but it never really goes away in Cowboy Church because of there's a lot of things that go on in Cowboy Church that keeps things, and probably one of the best things in our camps that we do camps in Oklahoma, Texas, and Alabama, and those camps, the kids go away for 4 days in two age groups, the preteens in one group and the teens in another group, and they're just finishing, they're working on the Wrangler applications now. So everybody that has anything to do with it has to go through a thorough background check, and then they have to have training to do it. Because there's a lot of money spent on camps, a lot of our resources are spent on our young people. So, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said they had 20 new students from Auburn coming to their church, and it's in Lee County, so that's where they are, and that they've made this connection, and it took a while to get connected to the university people, but now that they have, and I think there was 4 of those filled out Wrangler applications for the first time. Wow. So it's a lot of really good things going on, and we're getting, we have a call this week. I'll be headed up to Pulaski to do some team training Wednesday night, and that's another. It's a younger church, but they've been going a while, but they're developing, and they've grown a bunch. But we have another one in East Tennessee that's starting, and then there's the couple of churches in Kentucky that we're affiliating with. That's it just keeps you on the go, and I just got back Jacob and I just got back from the WRCA finals in Amarillo. We had a booth out there with a bunch of our group. We had a open board meeting, and a lot of people came. It was great. We had a good time. We had a really good time. And, in January, of course, we have on the 13th of January, we have Testing of the Bulls at Thousand Hills Cowboy Church in Etheridge, Tennessee. And on the 20th, we have the Unhobble Conference at the Cowboy Church of Colbert County over in Leeton, Alabama. And I told Phil, I said, I've got to call Curtis today because I got to work on our chuck wagons for that event. And he puts those things together, and that's always a big deal. It's in January, and they have a covered arena, so we can put the wagons out of the weather. And then this past weekend, we was at the Cowboy Church of Jerusalem over in Fairmont, Georgia, and was over there at the Ranch of Hope and Healing where all those kids are, and man, they just melt my heart. And Miss Rebecca that takes care of that, it is something else. And they just got a cover over their arena. So a lot of good things going on, and it'll be a really busy year. But I'm super excited. I'm going to enjoy the holidays because that's what we do. We unwind and take a couple of weeks off, and then in January the 13th we'll be back wide open. And on Thursday of this week we have a Zoom call. We'll be working on our calendar for next year. And all of these events, you have to generate a flyer. So I'm trying to generate a flyer for Unhobbled and nail down the last details of it. So that's all this week. And then the boys playing basketball, and we're doing.
They're keeping you jumping, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's a good time.
I was just telling Phillip he needs to put a brick or something on top of their heads. Those guys are, what are they, 6 foot now?
Yeah, both of them are over 6 feet tall, and they're 13 and 15, and of course right after the first of the year they both have a birthday, so they're growing up, and but they're a joy to have around. I thoroughly delight myself in having those young boys at my age, because they keep me moving and keep me going, and they're not demanding at all. But they are sure helpful. We had to get a new stove. Our stove just went, and we had to buy a new one, and I would have never got that thing in by myself. But they're strong, and they can help you do things. So there's a lot of good, way more good than any inconvenience. My goodness, my wife and I are blessed to have those two boys. I was at a leadership team meeting last night, and at our church, and we do those, and it's a way for us to conduct the business of a church. A church still has to do business. It's done a little differently in the Cowboy church model, because we don't do it in the middle of a service. We do it on a weeknight, and we take everything we do is by teams and by consensus. So that team doesn't decide that, well, we're going to do a chuck wagon cooking or we're going to do an arena event unless they have a consensus of the team. So, it's mostly we get reports, and right now they're working on a budget for each team has a budget for next year. So they're working on a budget, and our audit team, our finance team, they work with them so they can say, look, you got way out of line here. We got to. So they work together really good. So that we deal with our business, but the business of the church is not the most important thing. The most important thing is for churches to win lost people for Jesus, and we don't get so consumed with the business of it. You have to take care of it. It's a necessity to deal. Somebody has to pay the bills. Somebody has to make sure we have electricity and propane for our heating system. So you have to do those things, but we don't have to do them in a worship service or even on Sunday. So we don't want to distract from what the Lord might want to do. So that's why we do them on a weeknight, and everybody can do them ever how they want to. But it's shaping up to be a really good year. I think this next year may be one of the biggest ones as far as our growth. And we've been talking about the churches that have just found themselves in a revival because of all the growth that's happening in Lookout Mountain and Sand Mountain, and so many different ones. Even all the churches are experiencing some growth, and some of our new ones. I know the Stockyard Cowboy Church down in New Brockton it's doing good. Todd Nichols and that church is only about it's coming up on a year old, but I know they're doing really good, and we've had some really good things happen in these churches, and I think the best thing is how our churches kind of come together, and we're going to miss the fifth Sunday night in December because it's on New Year's Eve. Well, Most of our churches do some get-togethers on New Year's Eve, and they'll watch football or they do something. They have food. They have a good time, and so we're not doing a fifth Sunday night gathering. But other than that, we do that fifth Sunday night gathering has been one of the things that helped bring our churches really closer together. And I have so much going on, I kind of gave that off to Wormy Wiseman to take care of that, and he talked to several pastors, and we all agreed let's not do it on New Year's Eve. So we'll do the next fifth Sunday, and it will be at whenever it is. I have to look at my calendar to see, but it may be March, but it'll be at Southern Cross Cowboy Church in Arab, the next one. And that's one of another church that, goodness, they wasn't even a church 4 years ago, and now they're in a building that's completely full, and their young pastor is doing a fantastic job there, and they have a lot of good things going on. So I mean, I could talk on and on about all the schedule that we have built in already, and then we have to put dates in for several different events for the pastor process, and for the fall gathering, and a clinic for, we teach this model that we use. Nobody has to use it. Every church is its own entity, but at the same time, there's certain, this team model works so good, we want them to at least consider it, because we're helping a church right now that, they started out and they just had one team, and every church starts this way. They don't have enough people to make up all these teams. So they have one team that does everything. Well, this church has gone for a little while and been going long enough, and so they get 50 or 60 people, and they said, well, man, why should we change? It's working so good. And that was up to them, and they kept doing it that way. But now they're 160 or 70 people, and they're a little overwhelmed, and so now they're breaking those teams out and letting each one of them be a team for, like for the chuck wagon, for the youth ministry, for the greeters and the hospitality people, and the arenas and all of those things. Then that way each team can kind of function like it needs to, and like I said, I think the key thing for all of that is they operate by consensus, not popular vote. And I think that's what gets churches in trouble, is they vote on a lot of things, and it's an opportunity for the devil to create division.
A simple thing with choosing a color for walls or carpet or something like that can get people worked up, and it's incredible.
Yes.
That it's that way. Now Christmas is upon us, and I would have a Christmas tree up all year round. So I just love Christmas time. But Lookout Mountain Cowboy Church, I've been to 2 of their Christmas events, and the young people get together, and it's a real simple thing they do. They just have a curtain, and then the kids and the actors in the play will be behind the curtain, but you get full meaning of it without actually seeing their faces. I mean, it's how they put that together, and so much meaning is just, it's incredible.
On the 17th, our church is doing a black light thing, and it's really good. I've been sitting through the practice and rehearsals, so I've watched them, and we'll have the church blacked out. We'll have a meal that day, and those are great things to do in the church. Then I think it's on and I'll get this date wrong, I think it's the 16th, on Saturday before, we have a soup with Santa that morning. But back to Lookout Mountain, I think this year, and I'm just going by the little bits and pieces that I've heard, but I believe they have a live manger this year. They're putting together a live manger, so I'm excited for them. I've wanted to do that, and And we did one on a float. We had a goat and a donkey, a miniature donkey, and everything on a float. But we hadn't done it at our church where people could drive through. And I still, I hope to get that done one day. But Lookout Mountain's doing it this year. So we're maybe we'll try to see if we can go over and see that, because I think it'll be really good. I think that's a good thing, and all our churches are doing something. And we made the decision, even though Christmas Eve is on Sunday this year, we're gonna have a service, and we know some people have family things to do, and that's fine, but we're gonna have a service at the Trading Post that Sunday, and most of our churches probably will have a service. What better time to really have a Sunday morning service than on Christmas Eve? So it represents, and I know that our parents and all of us, we get consumed with what the world is screaming about, gifts and presents and materialistic things, and we want to make sure we're teaching our kids the real meaning of Christmas. So I had to go back and brush up on my own things. I mean, have to remember. I went back to make sure I don't get it backwards, because in Matthew, that's he writes about the lineage of Joseph, and it goes back to Abraham. Luke, he writes about the lineage of Mary, and it goes all the way back to Adam. So you put those two together, and that makes for a good Christmas story that culminates around the birth of Christ. And Easter and all that's important, and probably the most important is Easter. But if it hadn't been for the birth, I mean, there wouldn't have been an Easter. So it's it's part of the timeline that takes us to Resurrection Sunday.
I've often thought about Mary, and then she's pregnant without being with a man. And I'm pretty sure back then parents were much more strict than they are now, and it was very uncommon. You didn't have a baby out of wedlock. Can you imagine what she had to tell her parents?
Well, actually, and I think according to the Jewish law, she could have been stoned to death for that. So
Joseph could have had her stoned.
Yeah,
because they were engaged.
That's right. So
see, he had to think about, what do people think I did something?
Yeah.
There were so many things.
Well, and the Bible said he decided to just secretly put her away. But I like to start with, and I'm going to do that this Sunday, is talk. There's really two miracle births. One is that of John the Baptist, because his parents were older, and they had prayed for a child, and she, being a relative of Mary's, Elizabeth was her, and they were pregnant at the same time. So that's a really unique story. And then you come to the virgin birth, which is even a greater miracle. And I was reading in Luke earlier this week, and I noticed something, and I've read it multiple times, but it said that he really researched, he really looked for of course he was a physician, so he really looked for all the details. I searched and searched for the details, is what one translation said. I searched and searched to find all the details around this birth. And I think I'm going to use Luke, because he did have he wrote about it in a little more detail, but he also wrote about John the Baptist, which Matthew did too. But there is a bunch in the Christmas story. We don't need to make light of it. We don't. And I was so thrilled last night. Part of we had, like I said, our monthly leadership team meeting, and the lady that does our teams on Wednesday night and the man that does them on Sunday morning both told me, said, Man, Jacob knows the answer. He said all our kids, when we pose a question, they all look at Jacob. And I said, well, in all fairness, Jacob does go to Cornerstone Christian School, and he gets Bible taught to him every day. So they said, well, I know, but it's like he answers things that we have to look up.
He's like a sponge.
He's quiet. Jacob is the real quiet one, and but it made me feel good that they said that. And of course, we love that school, and it's an amazing thing. My wife teaches there. And they do a fantastic job. They do some really good things, and there's some good people there. But Cornerstone Christian, gosh, that was what you wish all kids could go to a school like that. You know, it's that kind of school. Half of the men there are most of the men there are preachers, and I mean, you never know at the basketball game tonight. You'll never know which one's going to stand up and pray. But I mean, it's a good.
We did that with Brad. Brad went to Trinity Christian Academy.
Yeah.
We were living in Oxford at that time, and I know it was tough to do because it's pretty expensive. You know, it's not like going to like a regular
I know
school. But I just felt it was important.
Well, I told Liz when we first made the decision to do that, I said, you know, the one thing about it is we got one chance to get this right, and we could use all the help we can get. And we agreed that, we'll make the sacrifices that we have to make. And for us, it's the drive. You know, we're 40 minutes away each way. But it's worth it. It is worth it to us. And we're not we have a lot of good Christian schools from Huntsville to Albertville and other places, and that I'll tell you what I believe. I believe going forward, you're going to see, because I can tell you that the churches that sponsor these things, those churches are doing really good. They're not struggling, and I hate. We talked about that before. A lot of the traditional churches, that the small country churches like I grew up in, and I am so thankful for. They are really having a hard time these days. They're not able to compete with the world in what they offer or something. Maybe that's a bad analogy. I don't mean to be ugly about it, but I mean the church at Arab moved into an empty traditional church, and nobody was coming, and they shut the doors.
I think it's the things that, because we were looking for something different too. And just wasn't happy. And we were going to church, and the people were wonderful folks. It just wasn't right. And then you started coming on the show, and I started, finding out more and more about the Cowboy Church. I think it's the restrictions that, to me, are not worth a hill of beans.
No.
I don't see the point in arguing in church. I don't see any of that. And not that they were arguing. It's just that things can crop up.
And it's usually about meaningless things. You know what we say, and it is our goal in Cowboy churches to take away the barriers that keep people from coming to church. Our goal is not to steal church members from traditional churches. Our goal is to reach lost people for Christ. And in doing so, sometimes there are other people do leave, and because we do so much with young people, some of those. We've gained some really great couples at our church because their young people wanted to be involved in what we were doing with our young people, taking them to camps, what we do in the arena, and those kind of things. But you're investing not only in the church, but you're investing in the future of that church when you invest in the young people.
I think you are too, and I remember we were going to look at Mountain Cowboy Church, and so we were sitting there. They were talking about they're going to teach some of the young kids through the week how to dress a chicken. And I looked over at Phil and I said, I'm in the right church.
Well,
because all those things, kids need to know how to do things. There's no time for lazy. There's always something to do. We're going to have to go into a commercial break. I just looked down and saw what time it is. Man, time flies with us, doesn't it? Half the show, 30 minutes already gone. So y'all hang in there. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
My Towel solved a problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wouldn't dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring spun cotton that makes My Towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all My Towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
MyPillow.com.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show on IC Radio and Christ Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Wanted to thank the Gadsden Mall for being one of our new sponsors, and I enjoy going out there taping. And so, Kaylee, you're doing some really good stuff down there at that mall. She really is. We're going to actually have a canning segment coming up in just a few months. Yeah, Kaylee's like me. We like to can, prepare food and stuff like that. So Kaylee said, I think it would be fun. She likes the family. It's a family environment out there. And it's nothing but family now. So you can feel safe, take your family out there. Now, I wouldn't drop my daughters off or sons off anyway. You know, I just wouldn't do that.
Never do that anywhere.
Don't do that. But anyway, it's a good place for the family to go. Christmas season, that place is decorated. It is beautiful out there. So, Kaylee, great job you're doing out there as well. Phillip Gilliland is with me. He's with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. And we've been talking a little bit about Christmas. I love Christmas. And so you guys do things that are unique.
Yeah. We've had we didn't do it this year, but we've had living manger scenes and on a float in parades, and I think that living manger scene is one of the good things. We hadn't done it, but I know Lookout Mountain's doing it this year, and I'm super proud they are, and probably will go over there and at least look at that and see what's involved.
It kind of puts you in the scene, in the moment.
Oh yeah, and you know, it's all, to me, it's about the little younger kids, and of course I was over at the Cowboy Church of Jerusalem and at the Ranch of Hope in Gilliland last Saturday all day, and Jacob went with me, and one of my lay pastors, Brad Wilson, was with me, and we love going over there, and they do some of the most, but I, you know, it's there's a group of about 7 or 8 really young kids there now. They're younger than 10, and they are the cutest little guys, the boys and the little girls, and so Miss Rebecca, who is a dear sweet lady that loves them kids like nobody would ever love them, probably, except that maybe most of them that's there.
She's amazing. Her heart's
she is, but she was telling me on Friday night they went to this horse whisperer, and this one little girl, and I'm not going to say her name, but she's a cute little red-headed girl, and she was sitting upon the shoulders of Pastor Sam, who's about 6'2", and she's only about 4. And Miss Rebecca said, I got to thinking about it. We were watching this thing go on in this arena. It's an indoor facility, and they were watching it. And she said the kids were just really watching it. They weren't cutting up. They were pretty well focused on what was going on. And she happened to think, she said, I better ask her if she needs to go to the bathroom. And she said, of course, she's sitting up on Pastor Sam's shoulders. Says, I go to her, I say, hey, do you need to go to the bathroom? And she said, no, I just did.
Oh, no. Right there.
So I got so I never laughed. He looked around and said, and grimaced and said, that I'm pretty sure that's true. But I have laughed and laughed about that. There's so much... And during Thanksgiving, one of my friends from Texas, who he pastors a church in Texas, he left Alabama, went out there, and has done a tremendous job. He's got a son who's older now, but a few years ago I was out there, and this little guy he got in trouble at school, and he's a little bitty guy. At the time, he's grown up a bunch since then, but I never got so tickled in all my life. And Jimmy was telling me, said, well, I got a note, or I got a phone call asking me to come to school the next day, and so I did, and what had happened is a little guy carries a little pocket knife with him and was just showing other kids the pocket knife, and he knew he wasn't supposed to have it. So they called him into the office, and here sits his dad, and the principal says to him, Cody, can you tell us what happened at school? What was it at about school yesterday that was different? And he sat there and thought a minute, and he said, well, on the bus on the way home, he said I was in the very back seat, and he said I had to go really, really bad. And he said I had an empty water bottle and nobody was sitting back there, so I used that water bottle and chunked it out the window. And I laughed and laughed because that's not even what they called him into the office for.
You always feel like Art Linkletter,
Yeah.
where the kids say that.
I had
"Here it
never
is."
laughed so hard in all my life when he told me that back a few years ago when he was young, and I thought, man, there's something about these kids.
And people will remember that.
Yeah,
They'll always
they
be
would.
reminded in front of
He
his
said-
girlfriend and all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, and he said, and so the principal
what
said,
you
well,
did?
yeah, she did what? By the way, we were wanting to talk about that knife you brought to school yesterday. And showed
You kind of changed the
Yeah.
stuff. You changed the direction.
So it was hilarious to me, and I love the fact that all our churches have kids. Man, I'm telling you, you don't hardly go in a Cowboy church that don't have a bunch of
But they're
kids.
so attentive.
Yeah.
So right before the church starts, what they'll do, I think all of them do this. So they have all the little kids, and they'll play this rambling song or something,
Yeah.
and the kids, they know that's their cue. They start running down there to the front,
Yeah.
and then they'll sit and they'll talk with somebody. And I got tickled this little kid Sunday. It was so funny. The pastor asked a question. It was about Christmas. Well, this little kid just kept on and on and on. And he said, "Whoa, I didn't ask you to preach a sermon."
Yeah.
That little
Yeah.
kid, and everybody just laughed. But it's so cute. I mean, it warms everybody up. I think,
yeah.
and like I've heard you say before, youth, kids, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
heart of it.
Well, if you don't have them, your church is in trouble. It doesn't have a future without them. You better be nurturing these things that keep young people. And I think I told, because I have to be gone this Wednesday or tomorrow night, I told my guys, I said, guys, I have been here every Wednesday night. I don't want us not to have a man in leadership here on Wednesday night. Not that I think there's a problem, but in case some kid gets under conviction and needs somebody to pray with them and lead them to, because we baptized several that way, that they came under conviction on a Wednesday night. We break them out in different age groups, and it never fails. I mean, you won't be. I don't even sit in on the class. I'm just there in case they need me, and one of the ladies come get me and say, "Brother Phillip, we need you." And we go in, and there's this little kid maybe sobbing, and they just realized they were lost. And thank the Lord for these folks that do work with, and gosh, Lookout Mountain's got some of my favorite runs. Robert and Selena, they do it, and all our churches have good ones. I mean, that's just an example of somebody that's done a really, really good job. But all our churches are that way. Most all of them have somebody that's making tremendous sacrifices. One of the ladies at our church, and she doesn't have children, and she's not overly drawn to children, but she comes and cooks. She said, "Look, I'd like to just come," because we feed our kids every Wednesday night. And to be quite honest, there's been times when some of those kids we knew didn't have enough food at home. And guess what? We make sure that those are the ones that we send the leftovers home with. But Miss Marcia, who does that cooking, she's as valuable as anybody, because when she came, our ladies were working themselves to death. They all have jobs. They're normal people. They have a job. So after work, they were trying to prepare food, then try to have a lesson for each one of these different age groups. So that's worked out really good, because whether she knows it or not, she has taken a huge burden. And this is not just something that just happened. She's been doing this now for some time.
It's hard to teach and cook and present and do all those things.
Oh, and have the enthusiasm and the leadership of the Holy Spirit and everything that needs to be present, because this is a serious thing. I mean, when have the opportunity to sit in front of a group of children and influence their life forever, for eternity, that's a serious
I
thing.
understand. Little kids remember stuff. Now, some of you parents keep your kids at home instead of letting them go to church on Sundays. They remember things. I remember when my granddad was a music director at the church I went to when I was a little kid, and in Oxford, Alabama. And it was so funny. I remember And he loved for us to sing. So they would line all of us little kids up, and I had to have been 5 years old, but they had us all lined up, and we were singing Jesus Loves Me. And I don't know where this came from. A bubble came out of my mouth. And I remember I was like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. But my granddad sat right on the very front bench and was watching us. And he just looked at me and went, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just did, it's okay. Like
Yeah.
that. So then I wasn't embarrassed anymore.
Yeah.
You never know what you say to a child that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives.
Oh, yeah.
Even at that age.
That's right, because you want to encourage, no matter how bad, no matter what they say, if it's something they don't, something negative but you don't want to you don't want to overdo it.
And I think that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that I'm not for disciplining them, but we don't have kids really in our group that need discipline. There is enough well-mannered kids there that they are over influencing who's a little bit rowdy. And it may take them a few weeks to fit in or change into that mode, but it's a matter of who's converting who, and that can happen in adults as well.
Let me tell you, another reason I love going to Cowboy Church is I would always have to cough, I would sneeze, I would do something just as they were taking up the offering.
Oh, yeah.
When it was the quietest and somebody was playing the piano and you were taking the plate around. And I remember one time, and because every year I'd get the flu, but I didn't have the flu, but I was getting to that point. So they passed the plate around and I sneezed right when the plate
got in front of me.
About 6 years old then, and it embarrassed me to death, and the plate fell.
Oh.
And that's always the quietest time in a traditional church.
Yeah.
Be quiet. They're passing the plate around.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to. Well,
Oh, yeah.
people started looking around, and
By the way,
made a lot of noise, and I didn't want to.
we don't pass a plate around in Cowboy.
I love that. That was good.
We don't do that. We put a little barn in the back, and we announce that there's a barn back there for you where you can put your tithes or offerings, and people do that, and that works for us much better. And there's never a real super quiet time in our church service. We tell people and encourage them, look, if I'm in the middle of the sermon and you run out of coffee and want more coffee, get up and go get the coffee. Don't think anything about it. We don't want it to be so starched that people can't be people. We don't want it to be so uptight that the Holy Spirit can't speak and convict somebody's heart. We want it to be relaxed, and we don't want there to be any barriers in our church.
The offering plate is another one.
That's right.
And we were just talking about that when I was a little kid. Then I was divorced once. And I didn't have a whole lot of money to put into the plate. And so I remember being embarrassed because I didn't have anything to put in it.
Yeah.
And I remember them going, I thought the whole church is watching me not put anything.
Yeah.
I started just get a piece of paper and put I owe you in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the good thing about the little barn in the back.
I like the barn in the back.
We don't want to pass it in front of somebody that doesn't have anything to put in it. And we all have them in all of our churches, and we're thankful that they're there. It's not that, but we do not want to take it.
But you can be, if you're not careful, if you go to a traditional church, people can be made to feel like they shouldn't be there because they don't have the money to put in there.
Well, I remember, and Leon, my music guy, he remembers this so well. We actually, our church belongs to the Marshall Baptist Association. There's actually 4 Cowboy churches in Marshall County belong, and they have been so good to us, and it's great. We love the people there. But we went the Sunday, or it wasn't a Sunday. It was on a weekday, and they were voting us in. Our church was going to be the second one that they voted and did. But when we went to the annual association meeting for us to be voted in, well, they passed the plate 3 times. Well, they didn't, any of us. We got out of the habit of carrying cash around with us. And he was with me, and he said, and I had enough to put in there that first 2 times, but that third time I had done cashed out. I said, well, I didn't put any in any of the time because I didn't. That's, it's not that we're against it. We do give them money.
Mm-hmm.
They have helped us financially.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a monthly amount that
Mm-hmm.
we send to them. They're wonderful, and gosh, we want to we want these churches to be fruitful. It's not like we don't want to steal any of their church members. We want to find lost people and
Mm-hmm.
unchurched people. We don't want the traditional church members,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some of them come and we love them. But I mean, our goal is to reach unchurched and lost people.
And that barrier, I mean, it's not there. So it's one less thing you got to worry about, because, and a lot of, and let me tell you, some of y'all churches, there are some business people who only put their tithe in once a month.
Yes.
And there, I've been to church before where I didn't put it in every week because we gave a big one
one time
when
you
a
got
month.
paid or
Yeah,
ever how that.
when our vendors paid.
And now, and that's one thing, we haven't done this yet, but some of the Cowboy churches, not any of ours, and there may be some that I don't know about, but they've actually, I think maybe Colbert County does this, but they have a system where you can do a bank draft, or you can take a card,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got a machine that'll take a card,
Mm-hmm.
and you can
Because
give.
people don't carry cash anymore.
No, and that's fine. I think we're going to get that in Texas. That's kind of a pretty big, in those
Uh-huh.
churches out there. That's kind of a pretty
Uh-huh.
common, more of a common
Charlotte, North Carolina, the church we went to, we just did it online.
thing. Yeah,
We would
and that's becoming a thing, and it's really convenient for all.
Mhm.
I mean, it's easy. We have one lady and one guy that knows how much everybody gives. They're the only, don't have a clue how much anybody, and don't want to know. But then we have an outside auditor
Mhm.
that we pay that keeps up with their annual giving. So nobody in our church knows what anybody gives
Mhm.
annually except that outside.
They'll just give you papers.
They're an accountant, and they do it really reasonable for a
Mhm.
but this lady does it for about 12 different churches.
Mhm.
So that way it makes it really easy on us. She sends their giving notices out to
That's a
them.
great
and,
idea.
it's worked out and I don't know if everybody has access to that, but it's a great thing for
Mhm.
us, because that's another one of those things that it could be a barrier. We have some people that have given some large amounts of money, and they don't want
wanna be
people.
discreet.
They want to be discreet about it, and we sure don't want to honor that request.
Mhm.
So that way, this outside person is the one that really knows, not anybody in the church. Now, sometimes we kind of have an ideal, like if a large check comes in, and this happened a couple of weeks ago to help put the top on our arena. Well, I knew that Brother Dwayne, the little 90-year-old man that the Lord sent to encourage us to build a new building and do so many other things, that so he is such a hoot, and we've laughed, and we're talking about building a bigger fire pit, mainly for our young people. We think that if we had a bigger, nicer fire pit, that we could have bonfires and attract some other kids to just come to a bonfire on a cool winter night, and maybe roast some marshmallows or make some s'mores. And so that's what that was their ideal, not mine. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's a great ideal. But Brother Dwayne has used that fire pit to burn all kinds of trash, and so anytime that anything's said about the fire pit, he's got gray beard and everything. He was in there. This happened back not that long ago. On Tuesday night, there's one of our small group Bible studies, which now has about 20-something people in it, but he was out there burning trash in the fire pit, and something puffed up on him, and it singed his beard, and he didn't even know it. His eyelashes were gone, and half his beard was gone, and so he decides to go in and join the Bible
Everybody's
study.
looking at him like, whoa, what happened to you?
Yeah, they're saying, "What are you doing? What have you been doing?" He said, "I've been out there burning trash." He said, "Well, You burned
your
half your
eyebrows
whisker. You
off."
burned your eyebrows and half your whisker. And we just laugh and have so much fun out of it. But Lord, what a precious man he is. He's 90 years old and he chops wood for the chuck wagon team. So he's an inspiration, to say the least. And now then, all the churches know who Brother Dwayne is.
Well, think about the example he is to young folks growing
yeah.
up. Because, I mean, if they say what's going on in the world, they're going to be the laziest kids on earth. But when they have people like him,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
it's like, wow, he's 90 years old. Look at what all he's doing.
Well, and two, you know, we have a kind of a funny relationship with him, because when we were building the church, he's up on a scaffold and has a ladder set up on top of it, and he's painting the ceiling.
Oh my goodness!
Spots that we missed in the ceiling, and everybody there was just telling him to get down, and it didn't do any good. It said, "You need to get down. I'll get down when I get done.
When I'm ready."
Yeah, he said, "I'm 90 years old. I'll know when I need to get down." We've had so much fun. It's been such a blessing to have him come to our church. I'm telling you, I don't know anything that has brightened our spirits much more than Brother Dwayne has over these last 5 or 6 years. I don't believe we'd have ever built the church if it hadn't been for him. But he was the one the Lord sent to help us build that new building, and he told us it was time. And when he tells you something, you pretty well better listen to it.
And another thing I've noticed too about Cowboy churches is pretty much, well, they're debt free. And when they have a project that they want to do, I've been involved in several of them. They have a project and they want the money before they actually get everything brought in, and it just happens.
We don't want to be, I believe it's a biblical thing not to owe people a bunch of money, and I told them over and over, I don't want to leave this church buried in debt, So we do have our new building paid for. We owe the least amount. We owe a little bit of money on our land, and that's all that we owe for. But we do have some money set aside in another fund that we're saving to cover our arena, and the reason for that is because we lose so much time in we do. If it wasn't for the weather, we'd be in the arena about 4 nights a week. That's the way it was in the summer when we got where we could get in the arena. It's good things. We always do a devote. We never do an event in the arena with a chuck wagon or anything that we don't have somebody share the Word of God. We always want to make sure that's first and foremost. So as we go forward, that's the one thing that we're going to hold on to, is what our ministry is. It's not about fancy church buildings, and not even about fancy arenas or big events. It's about who we can reach with the gospel.
And gathering around, being with like-minded people.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you.
Yes. And I have had over the last couple of years, the Lord has sent me some of the best people to make up that circle of leaders. I mean, I've never had the men and ladies and our team leaders and our lay pastors, and I've never had such a group like I've got right now, and I'm thankful for them, because they have made it so much easier.
Absolutely. Phillip, we have about a little bit over a minute and a half left in this segment. What do you want to tell everybody before
Well, I
we
would
go?
say, the most important thing is remember the reason for this season. Remember, it's Christmas. It's Merry Christmas. It's not Happy Holidays. I probably could have gotten a little trouble with the company I worked for 35 years. They gave us those cards that said Happy Holidays and wanted us to give them to everybody, and I threw all mine away. And I went and bought cards that said Merry Christmas, and I wrote a Bible verse in every one of them. So when I sent them to people, they said Merry Christmas, and they had Bible verses in them. We don't need to forget, let the society, let the world tell us what Christmas is supposed to be about. We know what Christmas is supposed to be about. It's the birth of a Savior. No other birth like it. The only virgin birth in history. We need to teach that to our children, make sure that they understand the most important thing about Christmas is we recognize, and I know it probably wasn't in December, it's probably in April, But it doesn't matter. We're celebrating the virgin birth at Christmas. Let us make sure that our little ones understand as much as they can possibly understand at their age what Christmas is really all about.
And a lot of adults too.
Oh, yes, yes.
Absolutely. Phillip, thank you so much
Oh,
for being
my
on the
pleasure.
show. It's always so much fun to have him on the show. Absolutely. So many things to know about Christmas, and thank you again for everything you said. And thank you for watching. We wouldn't have a show without
Yes.
you. And I'll have to tell you, every day I look forward to being with you. Absolutely. Every single day. My name is Donna. I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth does matter. You can find us on television, channel 182, on Charter Communications Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You can also find us on our podcast, thenewscasters.com. Thank you, Phillip.
Oh, my pleasure.
Tell Elizabeth hello for
I
me.
will.
And thank you for watching.
Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.